Hey, everybody. Welcome to What Drives Us, episode 320. Oh, you see, that's the bad part. That's the bad part. I need to put something in the middle there. Oh. Episode 320 for May 15, 2019. My name is Russell Frost. I am your host for this week's adventure into the journey into sustainable energy and advanced tech mobility. I can say that all in one breath, but I can't get the opening music coordinated. Let's introduce everybody, and we'll get this show on the road. Danny Cooper is off this week, and he is every week. However, the Danny Cooper pro tem, Tony Schaefer, is also off this week. So to say that I'm alone is an absolute lie. But nonetheless, I find a distinct lack of co-hosts. So I'll introduce my good friends on this wonderful panel, and we will move forward bravely without their leadership. Our friend in Canada, the man who has more Aero wheel covers than you have, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. And yes, I'm selling and buying. I'm an importer-exporter of Tesla wheel covers. So let us know if you've got some.
Didn't Trump just put like big tariffs on those?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
The Aero cover, tariff.
25% tariff.
Yeah, 25%. So
absolutely, it's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge. Believe me,
huge. And our response to that extreme Aero wheel tariff is our friend in South Carolina. He is an expert on SEC located superchargers, Mr. Kacey Green.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing today? I have not a lot new going on. Got a lot of stuff going on in my personal life, and been keeping up with the news, and it's going to be an exciting week.
There we go.
And then tonight we've got the SpaceX rocket launch. I've been looking forward to that.
10:30 p.m. Is that Eastern?
Eastern, yep. And so 10:15, the camera comes on.
Right after this show ends.
That's right.
Look for that exciting SpaceX launch. Well, not quite as exciting as a SpaceX launch, but still nonetheless very exciting in his own right. He is the founder and main technician at Boulder Hybrids. He can also take your sell your car, buy your car. You can get a car from him. He specializes in hybrid and EV sales. Mr. Paul Guzik.
Hello, everybody. And in celebration of our 80-degree plus weather, I'm drinking a good juju summer beer.
Yay. Was it really 80 degrees there?
A little bit above that today, yeah.
I don't think I got over 70 today. Seriously, what is up with that?
We didn't even get to 80 today.
Well, we're closer to the sun in Colorado. So.
Yeah, you're mile high. Yeah.
Oh, it's that lack of air kind of thing.
Something like that.
I get that. Well, we have a fun show, lots of good things. But first, I have to say a big thank you. If you have watched this show before, if you've seen any of our reviews, you know that there is a signature theme song that we have been used literally on every episode, on every review from the 10 years this show's been on. Mr. Michael Manring was kind enough to let us use one of his songs off of one of his records. And, I can't even explain my gratitude to him for that. I mean, this is a Grammy nominated guy with more gold and platinum records on his walls than I have. And I have a few. So, but he actually performs for him. So that's a difference. He's an amazing artist. And recently, and when I say recently, I want to say Friday, I dropped him an email and said, "Hey, Michael, we've been running into this thing. Can we do this? Can you help me out here?" And he said, "Yeah, just give me a couple of days." And I took the couple of days to be like, so literally on Monday night, I get this email from him and he goes, "Does this work?" And what he had done was reperform the intro to the Fire Sermon, the song that we use as a theme song, and just sent it to me just because I asked him to. Michael is one of the nicest guys that I ever had the privilege of working with. And I just want to say a big thank you to him. Please go to manthing.com, check out and see if he's performing in your area. If he is, go see him. Buy his stuff on iTunes. Don't buy it on CD Baby. But anywhere else, buy his music because it's amazing. So one more time, because it's only 14 seconds. Yay! New theme song made just for us. That's beautiful. So I don't know what to say. I'm kind of speechless. But many thanks, Michael, for that. And thanks to all of you. I hope you enjoy it. No more big 30-second long musical presentations at the beginning of the show.
Yeah. I like it. It sounds great.
I feel sad.
It's kind of crisp and clean. I like it.
Somebody wanted the long version. Is that it?
The long version was great.
Need the short version for the millennials' attention spans.
Don't blame me. Don't blame me. It's just the YouTube stuff.
This is. I'm not blaming you. So let's get into the news. Yeah, we're going to turn it over to Mr. Guzik for our first story. Another inspirational story about our favorite electric car company.
Yeah, so a story that sort of came out last week or so was about if you had an early Model S, there's one little chip in the car that goes bad, and when it does, it bricks the car. And for any of you who don't know what that term bricking your car means, it basically turns your car into something as useful as a brick. You cannot drive it, you cannot power it up, you cannot do anything. And if your car is out of warranty and you call Tesla and say, hey, my car doesn't function, and they figure out that it's because this chip has failed, they basically tell you to go pound sand. Not a good thing to be, especially if your car's, 2012. It's not that old. If you have a 2012 Toyota that fails, Toyota might say, well, it'll cost you $1,000 to fix it or $3,000, but they'll fix it. So I hope this is just a one-off occurrence. Luckily, through the interweb, there are people and places to get this fixed outside of Tesla, but it would suck if you were not aware of that and your car got bricked. So
EV West.
Yeah.
EV West?
Well, and there's a couple other
Rich's Shop, a couple others, yeah.
Yeah, but the whole point of this, and this affects me and people like me, is independent shops need access to repair these cars, and customers cannot be forced to only go to Tesla and have Tesla say, oh, well, that's not supported, so you buy a new one if you want a car. I sure hope Elon gets the message and this kind of stuff stops happening, because thumbs down.
And just to explain, I'm sorry, Paul.
Well, and I was just saying, there's a link to the whole article if you want the nitty gritty. And there's even a link to the sort of unofficial repair manual that Tesla enthusiasts have put together. But it's not simply plugging in a chip. It's major surgery and special tools to replace this component. So yeah, it's not something that the guy who could change your own oil could do, for example.
Right. And this is the module in the MFC that is doing the data logging and gets overwritten too many times?
Yep. And apparently it's interwoven with all the systems in the car. And when it goes stupid, the whole car goes stupid.
Yep. The MFC controls all.
Yep.
So the ones I saw, they were just wanting an outrageous sum for it, like $5,000 to $8,000.
Oh.
So this guy, they wouldn't fix it at all?
Well, officially, Tesla won't fix it now if it's outside of warranty.
That's really bad. It should be a recallable part because that's their fault.
The whole car should be serviceable for at least 15 years or whatever the industry standard is. On
10 plus whatever the parts run out. Yeah.
And also it's just a bad design. Now, subsequently, they realize that, and future cars don't have this issue. But to build a car with one point of failure like that is going to happen to everybody is not very good.
It's just a matter of time. It's based on hours that the computer's been running and how many miles you've been driving. One fix is to upgrade to MCU2, which is pin compatible, but even though that is supposed to have been going on for a year and a half now, there has been no official path to go from MCU1 to MCU2.
Right.
Even though it's plug and play and flash the computer.
And again, Tesla's got to. I know they've made some of their service manuals and whatnot available, but it's still hard to get parts for independent shops, and it's also hard to get access to their diagnostic software as an independent shop, or near impossible, I should say. So that's got to change, because A, Tesla won't be able to keep up with the demand for repairing their cars, and B, consumers want a choice. Consumers would rather go to an independent shop if they can, because it's cheaper and usually quicker, better service than the dealer. And certainly in other car lines like Toyota and Honda and stuff, we do a great business because we can service the customer better than the dealer at a more cost-effective rate. And there's dozens and dozens of independent repair shops for all kinds of cars out there. Let's hope Tesla starts supporting people like us.
It's about choice. I mean, like Paul is much nicer than some of the official people I've met, both at regular car places and even some of the Tesla service centers.
Ouch.
Well, and consumer choice. If you can only go to the Tesla dealer, you know they're going to bend you over on certain things, and you have no choice but to pay the price.
Wiper blades.
Yeah. Where if you can go to an independent shop, there's competition, and if you don't like my shop, maybe there's a guy 30 miles away that is more competitive or easier or nicer to you. So,
and it keeps everybody on their toes, right?
Competition's a good thing.
Exactly. Competition is a great thing for consumers.
Yeah, and Tesla is doing something that you don't see at a regular car place. Is, they'll send somebody to you, and I love that. Our mobile tech here in Charleston is the best. And but like, since Paul's independent, he's not beholden to the Toyota and BMW and whoever, where you can't do concierge service. If he wants, he can send a tech out to pick your car up. They can work on it in your assuming that it's legal in Colorado. He can work on it in your driveway. He's not stuck like they are.
Right. And every other manufacturer we deal with gives us access to their tools. They might charge us licensing fees, access fees, but if I have to reflash a Chevy Volt, I can do it. If I need to interrogate a Lexus, I can do it. But Tesla, I've got to go to the dark web pretty much to do stuff.
And these other places, they allow you to decide if that's something that you want to invest in.
Right.
If Chevy says the cost is $10,000, you say, okay, I'm only gonna do this once. It's not worth it because I'm gonna have to pass that on to the customer. But if it's $10,000 once ever, then you're like, well, I can do 20 volts with this.
A lot of companies charge, say $1,000 a year for access to their systems, which as a shop, that's a justifiable expense, and
exactly,
it's a reasonable expense.
Yeah, that's why the Chevy store where I bought my Volt, they don't carry the Bolt because they don't want to buy $150,000 in tools that Chevy makes them carry. So, but you may already have what you need, so that's an option. So we need right to repair, we need choice. Yeah.
If you're a Tesla owner, maybe send an email to Elon. Say, hey, Elon, I want a choice where I can take my car.
Absolutely. And that sometimes it's just geography too.
Yeah.
If the service center is in one town and you've got a reliable independent technician closer, then having a choice is a really good thing, isn't it? You know?
And I'd like to be able to give you the
things. Dealers generally don't want to use recycled parts.
Right.
So we had a customer this week towed in his Leaf from the Nissan dealer because the Nissan dealer said, it's $3,000 worth of parts to fix your car. And we can get the recycled part for $500. And I'm pretty confident it will work just as well as the new part in his situation. And obviously, if you're the customer, you'd rather spend $500 to solve the problem than $3,000. So
right. Or like you said in this case, where they wouldn't touch his car at all. I mean, one, that should be a recall. Two, they should be willing to take $5,000 and do the same repair they would do under warranty. Swap out the computer, reflash it, and send him on his way. I mean, that is insane. That's the 2012 signatures were over $100,000 a piece. That's insane.
Yeah, if you bought an Audi over $100,000 in 2012 and it got bricked, they wouldn't say, "Well, too bad, buy a new car."
Unless it was a Phaeton wiring harness.
Yeah.
But that's just because they built those by hand.
But luckily in Tesla's area of what's cool is a whole bunch of smart people bought these cars who are engineers who like to take things apart and figure stuff out. And the sort of underground Tesla community has figured out a fix. And there are people who can fix this problem unofficially at a reasonable price. So luckily, because of the interweb, the problem has sort of solved itself, but it should be solved by Tesla, not by a bunch of engineers that own Teslas.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there you go.
so be careful buying a early Tesla.
Well, that is actually, Paul, a really interesting point, that if you are looking at a Model S or an X in that year bracket, this is potentially a problem you're going to have to address. It's a problem you're going to have to address at some point if you own the vehicle long enough, right?
Yep.
So
even the new MCU2 and the Model 3s suffer from the same flaw, but as far as practical vehicle life, they will be upwards of 30, 40 years old before they run into the same issue. So
Yeah, because the problem is data logs, right?
Yes.
Right.
It's a chip that is being pushed these data logs excessively. A lot of data logs that in most cases aren't even used. And over time, the writing and rewriting of these logs damage the chip, which isn't built to handle that type of writing and rewriting and the amount of use it's being given.
And why
it physically wears out the
put
chip.
an SD card that you could just pop a new one in every?
They do
Correct.
have an SD card. They just don't use it for that.
Yeah. So the technology is there to fix the problem. One,
On
maybe you
board.
don't data log as much. And secondly, why didn't you have a removable card?
Yeah.
But-
right.
Or
Yeah,
why
you
don't you write it
go
to the
to
removable
Office
card
Depot
you
and buy
already
a
have?
$12 SD card every couple of years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's horrible. Geez, that's such a. I mean,
I had
yeah,
to reach in my glove box and change a card.
I was just going to say, put it behind the glove box or something. It's just. But instead, you've got to. I'm going to guess take off the whole dash to get at that eMMC, right?
Yeah.
Take off the dash, take off the screen, remove the computer.
It's not easy to do.
It's a lot of work. Yeah, definitely. Well, Mark, I don't have a good segue, so your story.
You're just
sir.
going to leave me hanging like that. That's
No,
it.
man, I'm setting you up. I'm handing it to you. I just don't have like a smooth transition. I don't have a.
Okay.
And speaking of chips,
That's
How about
great.
speaking of
Yeah.
electric cars,
speaking of
There you go.
electric cars, something we love on this show.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. Article in Inside EVs about the Nissan Leaf. We all know that it's a high-selling volume car. Last year in 2008, the Leaf in Europe sold about 40,600 vehicles. And with a 40 kilowatt battery, that adds up to about 1.6 gigawatts of battery capacity that was used in those cars. Now, this comes to play because, of course, as 2019 rolls around and the new Leafs are going out with in some cases, a larger battery, a 62 kilowatt battery. So a 50% increase in battery amount required. There is a concern that Nissan will not be able to sell even the same amount of cars because the battery capacity is not there. They don't have enough batteries to build 40,000 cars. In fact, based on a 62 kilowatt battery pack, that's maybe 50% are the larger batteries. That only adds up to 30,600 cars in Europe. So this is going to be an issue going forward with others as well, but it's really highlighted here with Nissan. They're going to have to bring on some additional battery sources in order just to get out the same amount of cars that they sold last year. And we're hearing this in the EV world with others as well, that the battery components or pieces of the battery to make them are starting to become a little bit tougher to get a hold of, more expensive. And therefore, there could be some issues if a particular manufacturer is depending on someone to deliver, a vat of batteries, a certain amount that they have under contract, because all these other manufacturers are scrambling to pick up secondary and tertiary groups that will provide them with batteries as well.
Someone needs
So
to build a gigafactory.
you would think, right? But
Didn't they
no,
sell
Paul.
theirs?
No, Paul. Everyone thinks that's a crazy idea to have your own gigafactory.
Could it just be a factory? Could it just please be a factory?
But didn't Nissan have a gig and then sell it?
It doesn't have to be a gigafactory. It could just be a
Well,
factory.
And they sold it.
It's too late, Russell. Everybody knows the name. It's too late.
God, I hate that.
Well,
It's
Tesla
over.
didn't invent the term gigafactory. They just happened.
They
to
just
make it.
market it. They just market the hell out of it. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just a factory.
So it's interesting that that Nissan in Europe, they're kind of landlocked with about 1.9 gigawatt hours of battery pack that will be available, but they could use a lot more. So we'll see if does it make sense to ship batteries from Tennessee, where the other Nissan plant is, or from China or Japan, where other battery facilities exist as well.
China factory's got a boatload of capacity.
Yeah, they have a lot. But of course, they're also selling a lot of cars too. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this year if Nissan finds another way of doing this, or if they bring it in from somewhere else. But it does kind of underscore that you do need to get the batteries in order to build the cars. So.
I mean, it's kind of a nice problem to have that they have that much demand that, it's just too bad they didn't plan for this.
Yeah.
But it's affecting everybody. I mean, Porsche had to pull back, and
Audi.
Mercedes pulled back. They're doing, 200 a day next year.
Yeah.
Audi, General Motors, and apparently even Tesla is going to get hit by it, according to somebody reporting from inside Panasonic.
Allegedly,
because Panasonic don't talk.
and neither does Tesla, right? But yeah, I mean, it like any part. If you don't have it, you can't build it. I'm not saying. I mean, that's so obvious.
It's like Elon used to say with the Roadster: if you're missing the speedometer needle, you can't finish the car.
But it'll be interesting to see if these again if they can, because obviously in a car company you're looking to at least equal last year's output, if not surpass it, to help knock down costs and pay profits and such. But they just don't have the batteries to do it. They're going to have to get them elsewhere.
Yeah, maybe LG.
Yeah, cattle, something.
Cattle, yeah.
Somebody will find it. And obviously this is an opportunity for cattle or for Samsung or LG or whoever to sell some batteries. But the sad part is it supply constrains these cars that people want and people are buying, or they wouldn't be out of batteries.
Exactly.
So what if they had kept their battery factory?
That might have been a good plan too. Absolutely.
Making electric cars, have a battery factory.
All things being equal, it makes a lot of sense to have your own, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Over and over again, companies make bad decisions sometimes.
Yes.
It happens.
Short-sighted decisions.
And I'm sure that getting rid of the battery factory looked really good on some spreadsheet.
Oh, it would make this quarter look fantastic. Forget next quarter.
Well,
and somebody
next
went.
year, we won't be able to make any cars.
Well, so our EV sales are down 30%. Whatever. We're still selling. We're still selling Frontiers, or Tacomas or whatever it is. That's the disappointing part, is that they're willing to let that slide.
Yeah. Yeah, but from what we've seen from Tesla, it's not like an analyst isn't going to dig in and see that 30% drop and be like, Nissan is failing, and then try and push the company off a cliff. You saw that their CEO got arrested multiple times, and he claims it was a setup. It very well could be that. Allegedly.
Thank you, Kacey.
Kacey saves himself with the final
The attorney just sent me a text and went, whoo! I like this Kacey guy. We do too.
Indeed.
Well, let's talk about something even more depressing.
Yes.
Because, I got nothing but depressed now.
Actually, it's kind of good news.
No, there's nothing good really about this. Well, we'll talk about it. So one thing that I want to be upfront really clear about, and it's something that irritates me. For instance, on Twitter, it happens all the time. Somebody says something, blah, 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 Tesla's paint could be better. And inevitably some asshole, and I do mean asshole, comes in and goes, "Oh, you're just a Tesla short." You know what? You can say critical things of somebody like a company and actually be concerned about their health and well-being. So we have certainly have a record on this show of being critical at times, not just me. I know I'm the curmudgeonly one. All of us, when we see something that we don't think works, we call it out. Years ago, I think the first story was, 3 or 4 years ago, we reported on a spate of solar installations that were solar roads and solar roadway and solar paving. And there was a whole bunch of these projects. Now, we reported on them, and it wasn't like this is going to be the future. We said we hope it's going to be the future, but every single one of these was a test. Every single one of these was a proof of concept. We're going to do this and see if it works. Oh, and I'm skipping Kacey again. I'm not going to do that. Kacey has the next story.
I was wondering why you were saying this is bad news. This is great news. So
Kacey has good news, and then I'll get into my depressing shit.
Yes. So the Tesla Model 3 is once again back in the U.S. top 10 sales list. So good car, bad car did some numbers, and the Model 3 came in at number 9. And so for the month, they had 10,050 units, and the month last year was 3,875 units. For a change of 159% positive. And the year-to-date this year is 32,475. And the year-to-date last year was 12,055 for 169% increase. So quarter to quarter, it's terrible. We had a discussion about that on Twitter today. But year over year, it's looking good. The question is, can they keep it up? And hopefully they can.
It's such a male question, isn't it?
I walked right into that one.
You did.
Can they continue the success?
Okay. No, you said, can they keep it up? And
I did. And then I rephrased it.
That's a good question. I don't know. Kacey and I went back and forth with...
and then somebody called you a short.
yeah, somebody called me a short. And I was like, you know what? I didn't even care. I look right away and it's like, 53 followers. Yeah. They're obviously. And then,
I think the big thing this quarter coming up will be the right-hand drive cars.
Yes, they've got UK, Japan, Australia, and then all the others.
June deliveries, they start in the UK.
Excellent. Days away.
Days away.
Why isn't there demand in the US?
There is, but our
not for right-hand drives.
I know that.
our tax credit drops.
Except for rural postal carriers would love them.
And
there's them.
And does that tax credit get better at the end of this quarter?
It gets worse.
Yeah, a lot worse.
But some of these international places have been waiting 3 years for their car. It's about time, and their credits are higher.
I'm definitely not saying that we shouldn't be shipping these international things. What I'm saying is that if we're not producing North American vehicles to produce export vehicles, nothing wrong with that, except what does that mean about people that ordered it in the US or Canada?
Hopefully they're willing to take an inventory unit. Otherwise, they're going to lose the last of their $3,500.
Yeah, that's kind of
yeah.
weird.
It's I'm interested to see the Canadian numbers as we've got that new $5,000 credit federally.
Exciting.
It'll be interesting to see if more were shipped. Obviously, Canada's not going to make a huge drop in the bucket. We're only 10% of the U.S. population, but it'll be interesting to see if the numbers are boosted in the next quarter based on.
Yeah, they're going to send all the
available.
right-hand drive ones to Canada.
Right. We'll happily accept the right-hand drive cars. Yes.
Postal workers again, right?
Yeah.
Hey, the rural postal workers would get through their routes pretty fast.
Yeah, they would love
Right?
those. Absolutely.
Especially if you get a performance, yeah. And while we're at it, talking about right-hand drive, the tow package is starting on the UK cars.
That's right. Only in the UK it's
They
available.
are some caravanning people too.
Although somehow I think the Hong Kong listed here will be taken off the list because Hong Kong's part of China, and China's not really going to be buying many things from the U.S.
Don't let them hear you say it that way. You have to phrase it differently.
Yeah.
Allegedly, Paul. Allegedly.
Yeah.
Mainland China considers Hong Kong to be a part of them, and Hong Kong considers themselves to be not.
True. But Hong Kong is right-hand drive.
They are right-hand drive. Isn't China left-hand drive?
It is. The mainland's, yeah. So when you cross over from Hong Kong, you've got to switch
Switch
over.
sides of the road.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's a real mess.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
real
not
mess
confusing.
at the changing point.
Ay.
Accident City.
I wonder if Tesla's in Jamaica. They're right-hand drive as well.
Hang on. Here's a new product.
Go ahead.
A dual drive car. Have a steering wheel that you just pull off and move it and stick it on the other side. And
Like in the Coneheads?
passenger seat. Yeah.
But they're
Like just-
Mercury stable with the two steering wheels, two brakes.
Yeah.
Was that-
like a driver's?
It was like a driver's ed car. Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't do it that way anymore. Now they just do the brake pedal.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was cool. It had the two steering wheels.
You know, if you have like a drive-by-wire steering system, you could just make the steering wheel move to the passenger side. The instrument panel is already in the center. So.
It's like the telescopic steering wheel. You just unsnap it and slide it over, and then snap it in place.
That's a great car for people who commute from Hong Kong to China.
There you
There you
go.
go. Absolutely. It
They
should
get
be
to the corner,
motorized. though.
Scooch over to the other side and
Right.
scoot back.
That's what we're here for. Market solutions,
When,
people. That's
when
what we're here
the
for.
rural postage carrier gets off work,
Oh no.
That's right.
slide the wheel back.
Slide the wheel over and drive home.
And drive home. Just ignore those. The pedals automatically retract or something, right?
Yeah.
Right. When you move the wheel, the pedals go back up. Okay, sure. Why not? I actually like that idea for some reason, even though it's stupid. I love it.
Oh, and Coneheads is a movie for those that are younger.
26 years ago, Casey.
Oh my gosh.
But they had the car, and it had the two wheels, the two pedals, and then I remember that I'm not as young as I used to be. So it's like I might need to give them the reference.
How old are you?
I'm pushing 33,
Oh my God.
I think. Let me do the math real quick.
Let me let me do the math.
Yeah, I'm
That's
pushing
a sign of
33 this
age
year.
right there, Casey. Sorry to tell
Happy
you.
birthday, Mr. Green.
Thank you. That's July.
Okay. So I was going on about how I have bad news.
Yeah.
And just real quickly, I obviously, if you've seen the show or you've seen me, you know I support solar. I support all sorts of sustainable energy. It's one thing that all of us here are super into because it's part of the whole picture. It's not just getting battery electric cars because they're cool. It's about a number of transitions to do things that are more sustainable for us. So we had reported a few years ago about solar roadway tests, and I like to do follow-ups. And as it happened in the last couple of weeks, there have been some follow-ups on some of those projects. And I want to talk about that because here's the spoiler, folks. They all sucked. Solar roadways not a good idea, apparently. And that's not a bad thing. You try things to see if they work. You don't deploy them over all of your roads because you're sure it's going to work. You try it out. And in every case, each one of these tests, the one in France, why did we testing this in Idaho? Who thought that was a good idea? It just,
That's probably where the company was based.
It's where the company was based. Yeah, absolutely. In Sandy Point. And I get that, but still, like, that's a dumb place to do that. None of these installations produced what they were going to produce. And in fact, the losses or parasitic power, for instance, like in LED lighting or things like that they had added, turned out to be sucking more power than originally was anticipated. So, the whole idea of like solar roadway, maybe not such a cool idea. And now we know it.
So wasn't one of the tests supposed to be a roadway, but it was a sidewalk and it failed miserably as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it couldn't handle feet, let alone Mack trucks.
It wasn't so much that it wasn't. I don't think durability was the issue. In fact, I'm sorry. I'm acting like I didn't read all these stories. It wasn't durability that was the issue. In every case, it was the amount of power that it generated and the amount of power that was lost for other things, whether it was inefficiency or lighting or something like that.
Okay.
Certainly, like solar walkway might make some sense in some cases. But again, where you're going to deploy that, now think about this, you're going to put that in New York or San Francisco or, well, nobody walks in Los Angeles, right? But you're going to put that in a big city, big buildings, lots of shadows. Guess what solar hates?
Shadows.
Yeah. So
I get cut severely for like half to a quarter on a cloudy day.
Yeah.
Let alone a rainy day or snowy.
if you don't live in a place that's sunny very often, some of these solar applications don't make sense. It's not to say that rooftop solar for your home doesn't. That's a different application.
Yeah.
But for these larger scale civic applications, as it turns out, solar's not a great solution. And that's okay.
At least they tried. Because now we know it doesn't work in that application. Versus just saying, oh, it's not going to work, or oh, it'll work, and they don't ever try it.
Or right. And again, so the panels go next to the road or over the road or on the bridge.
And those ones do great.
And that does just fine.
Yeah.
But it's not a driving on thing.
Yeah. But we have enough roofs in this country and worldwide that all the people complaining about how unattractive they are, not the people, but the panels, we've got enough flat roof surfaces that we could take care of it. It's harder to maintain than if they're on the ground, but
yes,
semis don't drive over your roof. So
exactly, there's a lot less shadows. Wherever you're going to deploy it, you're not going to spend thousands of dollars and put it under an oak tree or something.
Right.
Yeah.
There are, like any technology, there are good places, there are good applications, and not as good applications. So we've learned that Roadways not necessarily the best.
I've got an example. My yard is so small that I did go electric on the lawnmower. But I didn't bother with the self-propelled because by the time it started propelling, I would have to turn it off and turn it around again. And I definitely didn't go with the ride-on electric mower for the same reason. It was just not enough. It was a bad application for it. So I've got a push electric mower. It
explains those massive shoulders of yours, Kacey Green, because you're pushing the mower.
It's not that heavy.
No, man, you're supposed to like just ride with that one, you know?
Well, actually, my wife has cut the grass the last 10 times now. But it's made of plastic and it's got lithium-ion batteries.
And your wife is on exactly an Amazon.
Oh, I think Kacey froze.
Oh no, Kacey froze?
Yep.
Yeah, he did. Okay, well, let's move on to the next part of this. So up there he is. He's
you're back.
Oh, hey, Kacey.
She's not on Amazon. She's a 5 foot tall Asian woman.
Exactly. Yeah. A delightful woman, but you know, you're making her do that, dude. I mean,
I'm not making her do that. I'm at work and we received a letter, cut your grass or we're going to fine you. So she takes care of it.
Well, I want to show you a picture of something that I hope never happens to anybody watching this show. This is what happens when your solar panels catch on fire.
Oh.
The fire department comes out and hoses things down with water and then foam. Mm-hmm. This was a story on the Journal of Light Construction. And it was an interesting story because it was written from the homeowner's perspective. This happened in Providence, Rhode Island. There's the damage. And I have to admit, wow, I had no idea solar panels would burn. Now,
I've heard of a handful of stories.
Panels burned or the
inverter
roof burned?
Such a very good question, Mr. Guzik. It's like you understand electricity. It doesn't. The article, the person writing in the article, it was fairly recent. Wrote it fairly recently after this happened and didn't have answers on that. But doing some research on this, apparently it's not uncommon for like squirrels to go up there and chew on insulation and on inverter cases, and a short becomes
so does
especially.
The squirrel start the fire? Does the squirrel like go up in flames and then?
Well, we don't know.
Like that, it's like that cat in National Vacation.
Yeah,
crawled under the tree and chewed on the wires till it became toasted.
Oh,
toasty cat,
crispy critter! Ouch. I don't know. I don't know. They don't know exactly what happened, but it looks like, you know, if you look at this. Well, here, let me show you this picture again. If you look at this picture and not my gaping maw, it looks sort of like that's right. That might be an inverter there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that would, you know, looks like sort of where this started somewhere. Maybe somebody was chewing on some insulation. Maybe something just happened. We don't really know. This is one case, and by no means am I saying you should be frightened of solar or anything like that. That's not the message here. The message here is shit happens.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily,
solar industry could use cayenne pepper flavor insulation to prevent this.
There we go. Right. And well, there are also mechanical barriers that can be installed, screening and stuff made specifically for this to keep animals out from underneath the solar arrays. Again, the point in this isn't to make anybody scared of solar. It's to say this stuff happens and you need to know about it and you need to kind of be aware of it. Now, there's a little coda to this. Guess who installed the solar array?
Looks like Tesla from that skirt.
Yeah, those guys. Yeah, it was a Tesla set. So, again, there's no evidence, and I'm not alleging that this was something that Tesla screwed up. This array had been on the roof for a while, I think a couple of years before this happened. And obviously there are thousands and thousands of people with solar arrays on their roofs not spontaneously combusting. Now, the reason I bring up Tesla is with this is not just to slander them. I mean, that's partially it, but Tesla's customer service is not exactly their strong point. And this homeowner had a hell of a time getting Tesla's attention and getting Tesla's help in dealing with this situation. And there's no excuse for that. None. If Tesla is a reputable company, they need to, even if they're going to say, hey, you know what? It's not our fault. There's nothing we can do. Here's how much your repair will cost. Right. But to not communicate with customers, as we hear about all too frequently with Tesla, it's inexcusable.
Yes.
It's
Although
like the people who answer the phone are not allowed to do anything, and so they run and hide, which is the wrong response.
Right, but what's going to happen is the homeowner's insurance company is going to call Tesla's legal department and say,
Yep.
you guys got to fix this or the shit's going to hit the fan.
Or they'll just fix it and then send it to the subrogation department, who will call Tesla and go, here's the bill.
Yeah.
And that's the way that works.
Which is a good point to remind everyone that after you do get retrofit solar like this, call your home insurance company and let them know you've got solar panels. Mine, I forgot to call and let them know I got the expansion array for months. And I called them and they go, yeah, it's going to adjust it by $1.
Right.
Yeah.
$1.
But had I not told them that and a hurricane came and ripped half of them off or burned the house down, yeah, that'd be SOL. Yeah. So for $1, it's worth it.
Absolutely.
Always call the insurance company.
Yeah.
Well, it's certainly not a bad. You want to make sure you're covered, right? You don't want to just go, oh, they'll take care of it.
No, they won't. They will weasel out of it.
I had a customer who had a car who had his car insurance auto debiting from his bank account.
Mm-hmm.
He changed his bank account, forgot to tell his insurance company bank account. They didn't auto debit the payment. 6 days after his premium was due, he got in a wreck, and they said, "You have no coverage. Go pound sand."
Oh.
And he had been a customer for like 10 years, and that they said, "You didn't pay your bill, you can eat the car."
That is brutal, dude.
So make sure you pay your insurance and communicate to your insurance company any change in your situation, because they'll use any loophole to weasel out of paying you a premium or a settlement.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, their whole thing is to minimize their own risk. So
Yep.
Yeah, I like the comedian who said, you're making a bet with them. You say, I bet you some terrible stuff's going to happen. And they say, we bet you it won't.
Yeah.
Give us $500.
Right. I mean, it's why I scream at the television whenever the commercial comes on, and it's Allstate or Farmers or whoever. It's all of them. Like, we like to pay claims. Hey, we pay claims in seconds. We love paying claims. If you've ever been inside of an insurance company, and I was for a couple of years, they hate paying claims, and they do everything they can not to pay claims.
Get incentivized to not pay claims, right?
Yeah.
The less
Absolutely.
they pay, the bigger the bonus the employee gets.
Yes.
Yep.
So
Yes, very much so. So, continuing on our solar doom theme, there were two things, one last week and one this week. Last week, SunPower announced that they lost money in quarter one. SunPower is now one of the leaders since Tesla has kind of walked away from the biz, and we'll get to that in a minute. They're down literally 25% from where they were. Why? I don't know. That's a really good question. There's a lot of stuff in here, but there's not a lot of whys. To say that, like car sales, solar sales are down in general is absolutely true, but not necessarily to this extent.
Yeah.
A lot of it is the expense that these companies spend in acquiring a customer is significant. And when I say significant, I mean anywhere between $1,500 and $5,000 or $6,000 to get a customer to sign the contract and pay you. Okay. Now they don't give that money. That's what it costs them in advertising and all of that. Multiply or divided by the number of people who actually sign contracts.
Yep.
You got to pay commissions and site inspectors and all of this other stuff. It's not cheap.
Maybe if they close all their stores and fire all their salespeople, they might have a profit.
They might just have a really, really tiny section of the market, right?
Right. No, it was a dig at Tesla Solutions.
I know. No. Well, speaking of Tesla, Tesla went into what I like to think of as a going out of business sale in home solar this week. They've announced that they are marking down their solar panels. That they're now, like everything else, you buy it on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go into a store, you buy your solar pack on the phone. Kacey has some experience with this, and I actually haven't dug into the system this much yet, Kacey, but you were saying it comes in like pre-packed modules?
Yeah, you can get 1 to 4 packs, and the packs are, I think, 4 kilowatt each, and so you can have up to 12. And if you elect to get Powerwall, you can get 1 Powerwall per pack, so you can have up to 4, which is good. For just a nice general solution. Obviously, you can have up to 10 Powerwalls on a system, but this allows them to hit a wider cross section of America, and very cheaply. So what you'll do is you'll send pictures of your situation to them, and if it looks too difficult, they'll just say, "Here's your $99 back." I'm guessing they'll go for the harder stuff later as they ramp this stuff up, as they claim they're going to do. But obviously, you still get a real site survey, and a real electrician comes in to verify that what you showed them is accurate before they start drilling and hammering on your house.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. And the pricing on this is phenomenal. It's like $1 a watt, maybe $1.25. But we compared it against the local installers here in my town, and they were half, 50%. It was incredible.
Yeah, and
you can automate a lot of it with like Google Earth.
Yeah, and that was the other thing they mentioned, is that they actually do check your roof out with satellites rather than sending the guy with the drone. And
right.
Yeah,
I mean, that was a step in the Tesla solar sales process back in the day, but it's an initial step, and you have to be on site for a lot of this stuff. That's the difficulty, especially as you say, retrofitting, right? Where every roof is different. You've got to get up in the attic and look around and see what's underneath. It's not,
especially with an old house and a crappy roof. That's
Oh, that was the other thing, is if you needed a new roof, they weren't even going to talk to you.
Right.
Yeah.
And
the tile product that kills 2 birds with 1 stone.
The tile is supposedly hundreds of sales, but when you look into it, it's really hundreds of people in line, and they say this is the year. We'll see.
It's not going to happen.
It'll happen.
Allegedly.
Whether it's this year or not.
No, Kacey's wrong. It's not going to happen. I'll make the prediction right now. Kacey, you want to? I need some more free beer.
So as long as they stay in business, it's going to. Now, if they spin off the solar,
saying when the Apple car ships, the solar roof will ship. The solar tile roof.
Who said that?
That's what Russell's saying.
Russell said that. I don't think the Apple car will ever ship.
No. Yeah, that's a solar roof. It's a scam. I'm sorry.
Well, they've got 10 of them. So, I mean, now it's just a matter of
like 4 of them that anyone's seen.
Okay, I'll give you that. 4 that we've seen. And since those work, now it's just a matter of
allegedly
getting them to install in less than 3 days or a week or whatever they're down to now, and also getting them produced at scale.
Obviously, there's many hurdles in front of this.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. I want one too.
They look great in the info commercial, but man, it's there is something seriously wrong with it at several junctures in order for it to be this far behind and for it not to be shipping, because obviously they bought the plant in Buffalo to do this.
Well, Solar City did, and then they bought Solar City.
They wanted it to be produced, and obviously there's something wrong with it that they can't produce it at this time,
or can't produce it the way they want it to. But
either way, it's not being shipped. It's not being fired out on an assembly line yet.
Yeah, I watched the fireman training on it, and it was incredible. But it scared the crap out of me because like they showed the fireman stepping on the tiles and they're glass, right? So he falls and slides, and I was like, "Oh crap!" And it was actually a demo roof that was just sitting on the ground.
And so he didn't have far to slide.
Right.
Yeah.
As it turns out, only Spider-Man can put out a fire on a solar roof.
Actually, they hack your roof to pieces, but it works.
I mean, Kacey, we're just going to politely disagree. Solar was a marketing thing that Elon sold to a public who wanted to hear it because it's a really cool idea. The problem is there was no engineering behind what he was selling people. When Elon sold it to people, the product didn't exist.
He showed them a prototype. And
not
even a what do you call the one that's come down the line? It was the actual prototype that the engineers put together.
Yeah. The product didn't exist.
That's like everything he sells.
Some of them are the ones that, like, this is we've test fit the line and it works, and so here's the first one. But like this one, like they built it in the lab.
And the problem was, and where the trouble started with this was that there were fundamental engineering issues that they hadn't even figured out.
How to connect all the tiles,
right,
cheaply and safely.
How to at all, right? How they were going to do it, much less the producing them, which is again proven to be much more difficult than they originally anticipated. This is what happens when you sell something that doesn't exist. You get away with it a few times. Yay, I can make the car. Yay, we'll fix it on the. We'll iterate a better version of the car, and everybody goes, okay, yay, but Solar Roof is a perfect example of screwing the pooch publicly and not having a way to kind of get around and go, oh, this kind of works. It doesn't.
They should have said, oh, here's this thing, and we have it on 100 roofs, and we've made 8,000 megawatt hours. You can buy it tomorrow, and we'll ship it in 3 years. But the demo they showed us was on the houses from Universal or Disney, and they weren't even plugged in.
The Housewives lot.
Yeah,
it was the Housewives lot.
They were built on Wisteria Lane.
Yeah, it's just,
and they weren't plugged in.
In a real house.
Yeah.
So
the windows were painted out.
Where I'm going with this, and I'm gonna sum this up really quick because we're running out of time. But sadly, the solar business has done more damage to itself than any outside force could do. Small companies, big companies, Tesla, SunPower, Sunrun, you name it. They've all really just damaged themselves by making claims and saying that their products are going to do things that they don't actually do. And that sucks because solar is a great product and we need it, desperately need it. And yet we can't get companies to just make a decent product, sell it, make enough money to stay in business.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah, like here today, if you go into my town, if you try to buy a house that's got solar on it, the first thing they ask you is that leased or is it part of the house? Do you own it? And if it's leased, they walk away and you never see them again. If it's owned, then they probably still scare them because this is not a very progressive area. But at least you stand a chance if you own it.
Right.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, on the house in Rhode Island that burned, right?
Yeah.
That was a leased solar city system.
Oh,
and one of the attorneys or something that came in there had commented that probably really was a good thing for the homeowner in this case.
Yes,
because it's not his property,
not his stuff. Yeah, and yet somebody else's property damaged his.
Yeah.
Don't know what in the contract how you sign away your rights or not, but. We need a good solar business, and sadly, we don't really have a lot of that right now. And again, I don't say that to scare anybody away. If you can get a good deal on a solar system, and it seems like a reliable company, do it because it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
in San Diego here, your power bill in the warmer months can be $600 or more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mine, without the electric cars in my area, a small house, fairly efficient. You're looking at $200 with air conditioning. And with some of the road trips you see me take on the channel there, our power bill comes out to be $35, charging that 100 kilowatt hour pack, running the AC at unreasonably low levels. It's phenomenal. And if I don't take any trips, they actually owe us like $30 a month in power.
There's some cool stuff. It started in Colorado. I think it's available in other states. Over here, we have a thing called roofless solar, where a solar company builds a solar farm somewhere where there's cheap land and good light and all that. And then you buy the panels in the farm, and I own 11 panels, and I live in an apartment building, so I can't put them on my roof. But all the kilowatt hours that my panels generate come off my utility bill. So my utility bill has been averaging $5 to $10 a month. And I own the panels, and if I move, as long as I stay within the county, I can just assign my credits to my new meter. So that's really cool, because for people who don't own their roof or have trees or an old roof that needs to be fixed first,
or
renters can do it. Yep.
Yeah,
that's a great system.
It's a great, and they get the economies of scale by putting them in a field and aiming them the right way, and they have people go out and clean them and tune them up and whatever they got to do. So check out rooflesssolar.com. Maybe it's in a state where you live, and it's a good alternative to putting them on your own rooftop.
Yep. And another one of those is Arcadia Power. They have a similar package, and they work with a great swath of utilities. In fact, they inject 50% of my non-solar power as wind usage for free.
Cool.
Nice. Anybody got one last thing?
I do.
Oh, okay. Well,
that's two last things.
Yeah. Go, Mark.
Okay. Just news that came out recently. Kind of a cool story where we've got this basically new road in Germany that that is electrified with overhead wires, and they've got basically trucks that can run on it with just electricity up to 90 kilometers an hour. And then when the truck runs to the end of the electric road, the mechanism lowers back into the cab, and it's back on gas or diesel. So the truck has the ability to run basically as a hybrid and run down the highway at high speed with these wires. And then when it reaches the end, it can be a normal truck and drive wherever it needs to go.
The only sad thing is it's 3.1 miles long.
Well, they got to start somewhere, Paul. You can't start with 100 kilometers.
Long haul trucking, 3 miles.
But kind of a cool thing. I don't know if it's viable. It's like the solar road. This is something that they're trying to see if it makes sense on some German highways. So interesting story from Engadget that came out just recently.
Wow.
I mean, maybe they could do something where they have a battery electric truck and have fast charging, and every 200 miles have 10 miles of track like that they can connect in and charge as they drive, so they don't lose any time stopping to charge.
Yeah.
And the antennas retract, and then they go another 200 miles. Like, do a fast charge through that system, but not have to have it for the entire interstate.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
That's cool.
If only there were electric railways.
The problem, of course, with electric railway is you can't get it to your market.
It's your last mile.
Yeah,
right?
you can't get it there.
No, I get that. And I'm looking at this going, there should just be an electrified rail next to the highway, and these things could go the whole way, but they couldn't, because they're all going to go someplace different.
They do have a lot of electric freight in Europe. Rail.
Yeah.
Like the Channel train is electric.
Sure.
Well, it has to be. You don't have a choice there.
A lot of Muni in San Francisco, same way, overhead wires, you know.
Philadelphia or Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, Kacey.
So I've got breaking news.
Breaking news.
Breaking news. Russell's favorite guy has tweeted that the Starlink mission will be the heaviest SpaceX payload ever at 18.5 tons. And if all goes well, each launch of the 60 satellites will generate more power than the space station and deliver 1 terabit of bandwidth to Earth. And then SpaceX, the company, tweets that we have a new T0 of 11 p.m. Eastern time. So at 10:45 p.m. is when their webcast will go live. I put the link in the chat already.
There you go. 45 minutes from now.
Yes.
Roughly. So hopefully that launch will go flawlessly.
Well, that's the good thing is they're still tracking good. So it's not like they're doing that usual shady delay. And then like the cast never comes on. You're wondering, where'd they go? Oh, it's tomorrow.
Right. Keep your eyes towards the sky if you're near
the weather report's still good.
The weather's still showing good. Everything's showing nominal. Yeah. Cool.
There you go. Thank you, Mr. Green. Let's do some shout outs and go home, gentlemen. Kacey, I'm going to go right back to you.
All right. Speaking of YouTube, I have a YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Kacey Green. That's KACEYGREEN. It's all about the EV lifestyle. And of course, I do a lot of supercharger reviews, travel the country, and tell you what I think about each installation. Some of them are great. Others are okay. And, some are not even. Some should be removed.
Some should be removed. Okay.
What's your favorite one, Kacey?
My favorite so far is the Delaware Turnpike.
Why?
Because it's got like 16 stalls. There's trash cans like at every third stall. There's a decent selection of food. It's open 24 hours a day, and it's right on the road. You don't have to get off to go get to it.
Oh,
yeah.
Good to know.
Good so far. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Coughlin, I'm going to you next.
If you have interest, I'm with the Waterloo Region EVA. You can reach us on our Twitter feed.
WR EVA.
EVA, yeah, that's right. We had to shorten it, Paul. WREVAG. WREVA group on Twitter. So follow us there. We've got events and meetings happening all throughout the month. If you want to see what we're up to, just connect with us through our Twitter feed.
If you're in the KW region, there is no reason not to be connected to these guys.
Absolutely.
That's all I got to say. And I'm still going to Temperaments for my Chesterfield. Speaking of my Chesterfield, Mr. Guzik, you're batting last.
I don't got a lot of. It's been a long day. I want to go home, so just look at my website, boulderhc.com, and if you want to buy a car in Colorado, boulderh.com.
boulderh.com. Paul is the best source on the Front Range for that stuff. As always, I want to thank Michael Mannering for our amazing theme music, especially the brand new thing he just did. Like, it's no big deal. I wish I could do that. So visit him at manthing.com. Please buy a song, do something, like maybe just tell him he's cool. Okay. Because he is. He's totally awesome. As always, we are all over social media, and we're usually at What Drives Us. So it's facebook.com/What Drives Us. We're at What Drives Us on Twitter. The big one, Patreon. You can support this show for $1 a month. That's less than 25 cents per show. Patreon.com/What Drives Us Show. That is patreon.com/What Drives Us Show. YouTube.com/What Drives Us. Go there, subscribe, hit the bell so that you get notifications. Super important because we want you here. Chat room, I am so sorry that I was so scattered. I didn't have a chance to say hi. But love to everybody in the chat room. And of course, love to all of you. You folks out there who are watching and or listening are the reason we do the show. Tune in next week and find out what drives us. New song coming. Yeah. See you next week.